Egg, don't you think it would be better?
Guess which one you are.
My family left when I was 1. We moved back to the States.
Top 10 greatest prison break scenes of all time. There's a special kind of bond that only forms when survival is on the line. When the world turns against you, when the system is rigged, and when freedom exists only on the other side of concrete walls and armed guards, brotherhood stops being symbolic. It becomes essential. Prison Break isn't just a show about escaping prison. It's about outsmarting power, outrunning fate, and gambling everything on one impossible plan. From calculated sacrifices to shocking betrayals, every escape attempt is built on tension, where one mistake means death, and trust can be as dangerous as the guards themselves. Some moments make your heart race, some leave you stunned in silence, and some redefine the characters forever. These are the scenes where plans collapse, where loyalties are tested, and where freedom is almost, but not quite, within reach. Because in Prison Break, escaping the walls is only the beginning. Prison is designed to strip people down to their most basic instincts. Control replaces comfort. Surveillance replaces trust. And hope is treated as a liability. Inside those walls, every action is observed, every mistake recorded, and every moment of hesitation punished. That's the world Prison Break drops us into. From the very beginning, escape is not presented as an act of bravery. It's an act of desperation. The system has already decided who deserves freedom and who doesn't. And for the men trapped inside Fox River, the margin for error is measured in seconds. What makes the story unforgettable isn't just the idea of breaking out. It's how quickly that idea begins to unravel. Plans that look perfect on paper collapse under pressure. Allies become liabilities. And danger doesn't always come from guards or locked doors. Sometimes it comes from the people who are supposed to help. Michael Scofield's escape plan is a masterpiece of preparation. But preparation doesn't eliminate chaos. It only delays it. As the inmates dig, scheme, and wait, the prison itself pushes back. A hole is discovered. Suspicion rises, and time begins to work against them. When Captain Brad Bellick stumbles onto evidence of the tunnel, the entire operation teeters on collapse. There's no room for debate. No time for caution. Michael is forced to make the most dangerous choice of the plan: breaking out early. In that moment, the prison stops being a place of confinement and becomes a battlefield. Every hallway is a threat. Every guard is a potential executioner. And every inmate involved understands that there is no turning back. The tension doesn't come from action alone. It comes from consequences. Westmoreland is wounded. Bellick is knocked out. And Michael realizes that saving his brother means risking everything, including his own life. The escape preparations aren't just thrilling. They're suffocating. Decisions stack on top of each other, each one worse than the last. Michael is forced to confront Warden Pope directly, knife in hand, gambling that intimidation will buy them minutes they don't have. This is where Prison Break separates itself. The show doesn't celebrate the escape. It makes you feel the cost of it. And while the inmates are racing toward freedom, another threat is already closing in: Alexander Mahone. Mahone isn't introduced as a traditional antagonist. He's calm, calculated, intelligent. Everything Michael is, but operating on the opposite side of the law. Where Michael plans to save lives, Mahone plans to erase them. For Mahone, the escaped inmates are not fugitives. They are problems. And problems are meant to be solved permanently. When Mahone corners mob boss Abruzzi, the encounter doesn't end with an arrest. Abruzzi chooses death over returning to prison, a decision that reflects just how terrifying incarceration truly is in this world. But Mahone's most chilling moment comes later. Tweener surrenders peacefully. No resistance. No threat. A moment that should have ended with handcuffs instead ends with a gunshot. Mahone kills him in cold blood and stages it as self-defense. In that instant, his role becomes clear. He isn't law enforcement. He's an executioner, and he's not acting alone. Mahone answers to a higher power, one that doesn't want the Fox River escapees brought back alive. They want the story buried, The witnesses silenced. The truth erased. This realization shifts the entire series. Escape is no longer about outrunning the system. It's about surviving it. As the danger escalates outside the prison, chaos intensifies inside. One of the most disturbing moments comes not from violence, but from vulnerability. Michael's tattoos are the backbone of the escape. Every line, every symbol, every detail holds meaning. They are the blueprint to freedom, etched permanently into his skin. But no plan survives contact with reality. After a close call, Michael returns to his cell with severe burns across his back. The prison uniform has melted into his flesh, forcing Sucre to tear it away, piece by piece. The scene is agonizing. Skin rips. Pain becomes unbearable. And the audience watches helplessly as Michael's body, the very map that was meant to save them, is destroyed. Worse still, part of the escape route is burned away forever. The prison has taken something it cannot give back. This moment strips away the illusion that intelligence alone can guarantee success. Even the most brilliant plan can be undone by a single, unpredictable variable. And while Michael suffers inside, the outside world delivers another devastating blow. Veronica Donovan's death marks a turning point that no one saw coming. For much of the story, Veronica represents hope, proof that justice can still exist beyond prison walls. She pieces together the truth, that Lincoln is innocent, that the system has framed him, that the man believed dead is very much alive. For the first time, the possibility of legal salvation feels real. And then it's taken away. Company agents arrive, the walls close in, and Veronica is executed before she can escape. Lincoln hears it happen. Her death sends a brutal message. Knowledge is dangerous, and truth is a liability. From that point forward, Prison Break makes one thing unmistakably clear. No one is safe. Not the innocent, not the clever, not the prepared. Every victory comes with loss. Every step toward freedom demands sacrifice. And as the story continues, the question is no longer if the escape will succeed, but how much it will cost before it's over. Once the escape is set in motion, the illusion of control disappears. What Michael Scofield designed as a carefully synchronized operation begins to fracture under pressure. Each man carries his own fear, his own secrets, and his own breaking point. And inside prison walls, panic spreads faster than any alarm. Freedom is no longer an idea, it's a countdown. As the group moves forward, the prison itself becomes hostile terrain. Corridors that once felt familiar now feel claustrophobic. Guards appear where they shouldn't. Doors take longer to open. Every sound feels amplified, every second stolen. And the closer they get to the exit, the heavier the cost becomes. Westmoreland, one of the quiet pillars of the group, can't keep up. His body is failing him, weakened by illness and injury. While others push forward, he lags behind, knowing something the rest refuse to accept. Not everyone is getting out. His decision to stay behind is not framed as heroic. It's tragic. He reveals the location of the money he hid years earlier, a final act of trust meant to give the others a chance at survival. Then he fades from the escape, swallowed by the prison he was never meant to leave. The escape doesn't pause for grief. Alarms blare, guards mobilize, and chaos erupts. Michael crosses the cable stretched between buildings, suspended in darkness with nothing but air beneath him. It's one of the most nerve-wracking moments in the series, not because it's flashy, but because it's fragile. One slip, one mistake, one failure of trust, and everything ends. When the cable snaps, panic takes over. Lincoln saves his brother, pulling him back from certain death. But the damage is done. The escape has been exposed. The prison responds with full force. What follows isn't a clean getaway. It's a hunt. Outside the walls, the men scatter. There is no celebration, no relief, just exhaustion and fear. They are free, but freedom has teeth. Because the moment they escape Fox River, the world becomes smaller, not bigger. Mahone closes in. Unlike traditional pursuers, Mahone doesn't chase blindly. He anticipates, he studies. He understands Michael because he thinks like him. Every move Michael makes, Mahone is already imagining the counter. This intellectual duel becomes the spine of the series. Mahone isn't driven by justice. He's driven by obligation and fear. The company controls him through his son, forcing him to hunt the escapees with ruthless efficiency. Every kill chips away at his humanity. But he keeps going, convincing himself that survival justifies brutality. And for those on the run, Mahone becomes something worse than death. He becomes inevitability. As the group fractures, alliances shift, trust erodes. Some flee alone, some betray others to save themselves. The bonds forged inside prison are tested by the outside world, where loyalty competes with instinct. This is where Prison Break strips away fantasy. Freedom doesn't heal trauma, it exposes it. One of the most unsettling transformations happens quietly. Brad Bellick. Once the embodiment of abuse and corruption inside Fox River, Bellick becomes a fugitive, hunted, desperate, and powerless. The uniform that once protected him is gone, and without authority, he's forced to confront the same fear he inflicted on others. Bellick's descent is humiliating and raw. He is beaten, degraded, and abandoned. But slowly, something changes. Survival humbles him. Pain reshapes him. He begins to understand what it means to be powerless. Meanwhile, Michael's own body begins to betray him. The burns from the tattoos are more than physical injuries. They symbolize the cost of genius, the price of obsession. Every step forward pulls him deeper into a plan that no longer belongs to him. His mind remains sharp, but his body weakens. Migraines intensify. Moments of clarity are interrupted by pain. What once looked like flawless execution now feels like a slow unraveling. And still, Michael keeps going. Because turning back isn't an option. The show escalates again with a shocking pivot. The involvement of an unlikely ally, Paul Kellerman. Once a loyal enforcer for the company, Kellerman has spent the series operating in shadows, carrying out assassinations and cover-ups with clinical precision. But power leaves scars, and eventually, the weight becomes too heavy. When Kellerman turns on Mahone and saves the Scofield brothers, it's not redemption, it's rebellion. For the first time, the company loses control of one of its own. Kellerman offers something the escapees desperately need: access, information, a chance to fight back. This shift changes the story's direction. The escape is no longer about running, it's about exposure. Truth becomes a weapon. But truth, as the series repeatedly shows, is dangerous. Those who uncover it die. Those who carry it are hunted, and those who protect it are destroyed. This tension reaches its emotional peak in moments of sacrifice. Michael is constantly forced to choose between outcomes, never between good and bad, but between terrible and worse. Save one person, lose another. Move forward, abandon someone behind. These choices leave scars that don't fade, and the show never lets the audience forget them. As the escapees push deeper into enemy territory, the realization settles in. Fox River was only the beginning. Prison wasn't the cage. The world is. Every road leads back to the company. Every attempt at safety reveals another layer of manipulation. Even allies have expiration dates. And through it all, the central bond remains unbroken. Michael and Lincoln. Not as heroes, not as symbols, but as brothers. Their connection grounds the chaos. When everything else fails, plans, alliances, health, that bond endures. It's the reason Michael keeps sacrificing. It's the reason Lincoln keeps believing. And it's the reason the escape still matters. Because Prison Break isn't ultimately about tunnels, tattoos, or tactics. It's about what people are willing to endure for the ones they love. And as the story moves forward, that endurance will be tested harder than ever. Because freedom, once tasted, becomes something you're willing to die for. And the closer they get to it, the deadlier the price becomes. By the time the escape reaches its later stages, survival stops being about speed or intelligence. It becomes about endurance. Every character is carrying damage now, physical, psychological, or moral. The initial adrenaline that fueled the breakout has burned off, leaving behind exhaustion and consequence. What once felt like a daring rebellion now feels like a prolonged war of attrition. And wars don't reward everyone equally. Michael's health continues to deteriorate, No longer something he can hide behind logic or planning. The headaches grow worse. His vision blurs. Moments of brilliance are interrupted by pain that leaves him disoriented and vulnerable. For a man whose greatest weapon is his mind, this is terrifying. The escape was supposed to end once they got out. Instead, it followed him. Every step forward demands more calculation, more sacrifice, more secrecy. The tattoos that once symbolized control now feel like a curse, reminders of a plan that keeps evolving faster than his body can handle. And still, Michael refuses to stop, because stopping means capture, and capture means death. Around him, the group continues to fracture. Some members disappear entirely, choosing isolation over loyalty. Others cling desperately to the remnants of the brotherhood forged inside Fox River, even as it becomes clear that unity is no longer protection. It's a liability. Trust becomes selective. Information becomes currency. And fear becomes constant. One of the most unsettling transformations unfolds quietly. Teabag. From the beginning, he was never meant to be part of the plan. Only a complication. A predator disguised as an ally. But outside prison walls, his unpredictability becomes even more dangerous. He manipulates, lies, and adapts with terrifying ease, always positioning himself just close enough to survive. Teabag's presence forces the others into impossible decisions. Kill him and risk exposure. Abandon him and risk retaliation. Keep him close and risk betrayal. There is no safe option. He represents the dark truth of escape. Freedom doesn't change who people are, it amplifies them. While some characters struggle to hold on to morality, others shed it completely. Mahone's descent accelerates. Each kill he commits pushes him further from justification and closer to collapse. The guilt he once suppressed now manifests as paranoia, hallucinations, and desperation. The company's grip tightens, and Mahone begins to understand the reality of his situation. He is not an asset. He is expendable. And when someone like Mahone realizes that, the danger multiplies. His pursuit of Michael becomes obsessive, personal, almost intimate. It's no longer about orders or leverage. It's about proving dominance. Two minds locked in a destructive mirror match, each trying to outthink the other before one of them breaks. The tragedy is that they are more alike than either wants to admit. Both are controlled by forces larger than themselves. Both sacrifice others to achieve their goals. And both believe the end justifies the means. As the net tightens, the story delivers one of its most emotionally devastating turns. Brad Bellick's arc reaches a critical point. Once stripped of power, Bellick has been clawing his way toward relevance. Not through authority, but through usefulness. He follows the group not because he's loyal, but because he has nowhere else to go. Over time, survival changes him. He learns humility through suffering. He learns empathy through loss. And slowly, against expectation, he becomes someone capable of sacrifice. This evolution doesn't redeem his past, it reframes his future. Bellick begins to understand something the others already know. Escape isn't about saving yourself. It's about deciding who you're willing to save. That realization will matter later. As alliances shift, the narrative narrows its focus back to the heart of the story. Michael and Lincoln. The brothers are no longer reacting. They are preparing for an end they both sense is coming. Their conversations grow quieter, heavier. Michael starts making decisions that feel final. Lincoln notices. He questions him, but Michael deflects. Because some plans can't be shared. Michael knows something is wrong with him, and deep down, he knows time is running out. The escape was never just about Lincoln's innocence. It was about ensuring Lincoln could live after it. This understanding reshapes everything. When the story reaches the point where Michael must choose between his own survival and everyone else's freedom, the choice is never really a choice. He begins positioning himself as the final piece on the board, the one meant to be removed. The series doesn't announce this shift. It lets you feel it. Plans become layered. Contingencies stack on contingencies. Michael prepares for outcomes he never intends to see himself experience. Each step brings the others closer to safety, and him closer to isolation. Meanwhile, the company begins to crumble under its own weight. Secrets leak. Allies defect. Internal power struggles emerge. The same system that manipulated lives so effortlessly starts turning inward, devouring its own operatives. But even in collapse, it remains deadly. One last prison stands in the way. Sona. Unlike Fox River, Sona isn't governed by rules or reform. It's governed by dominance. No guards inside. No law. Only hierarchy. And once you're inside, there is no escape unless you earn it. This environment strips the concept of justice down to its rawest form. In Sona, strength is currency. Mercy is weakness. And survival is temporary. Michael is forced to adapt again, this time without resources, without allies, and without the safety net of planning. His intelligence keeps him alive, but it also paints a target on his back. Here, every relationship is transactional, every favor costs blood, and every alliance expires the moment it stops being useful. Yet even in this hellscape, the story holds on to its core theme: sacrifice. Characters continue to give pieces of themselves away, sometimes willingly, sometimes violently. The show reminds us that escape is not a single moment. It's a series of losses you agree to accept. As the end approaches, it becomes clear that the story isn't building toward a triumphant victory. It's building toward a reckoning. Every lie told, every person lost, every moral compromise. They all converge. Michael's body weakens further. The symptoms can no longer be ignored. The truth he's been avoiding surfaces, not as fear, but as acceptance. He was never planning to walk away. And as the final phase of the escape begins to take shape, one question hangs over everything. How much is freedom worth? When the price is yourself? By the time everything reaches its final movement, the illusion of escape has fully dissolved. There are no clean endings here. No perfect victories. Only consequences. What began as a brother's desperate attempt to save another has evolved into something much larger and far more costly. Every person who crossed paths with the plan has paid something. Some paid with freedom, some with innocence, and some with their lives. Michael Scofield has always understood this. That's why his final decisions feel so quiet. There's no dramatic announcement, no heroic speech, just preparation. The kind that only comes when someone has already accepted the outcome. Michael stops planning for survival and starts planning for legacy. For what will remain after he's gone. The truth he's been avoiding can no longer be denied. The headaches, the blackouts, the moments where his mind betrays him. They weren't obstacles. They were warnings. Michael knows his time is limited. And instead of fighting it, he does what he's always done best. He turns it into strategy. This is where the story completes its arc. The final escape isn't about breaking out of prison. It's about breaking the cycle. Michael orchestrates one last operation, knowing full well he won't be there to enjoy its success. Every move is designed to put the others in position to live, without looking back, without being hunted, without carrying the weight he's carried for them. Sarah, Lincoln, the people who survived, they become the future Michael is building toward, even as he removes himself from it. And the tragedy of it all is that Michael never sees himself as a hero. To him, this was always the price. When the final sacrifice comes, it isn't framed as shocking, it's framed as inevitable. Michael gives his life not in anger or fear, but in certainty. He knows the outcome. He chooses it anyway. Because for the first time, the plan is complete. The world he leaves behind is quieter, smaller, safer. Lincoln is free, not just from prison, but from the shadow that followed him for so long. Sarah carries Michael's memory forward, not as loss, but as proof that love can outlast violence. And the system that once seemed untouchable finally cracks. The company collapses under the weight of its own secrecy. Its control evaporates. The power it wielded through fear dissolves when truth is exposed. It doesn't end with applause. It ends with silence. The kind of silence that follows survival. Brad Bellick's final act echoes this theme. Once a symbol of cruelty and abuse, Bellick dies doing the one thing he never thought he could, protecting others without expectation of reward. His death doesn't erase his past, but it gives it meaning. Redemption, in this story, isn't about forgiveness, it's about choice. Even Mahone, haunted and broken, is left to confront what he's become. His brilliance couldn't save him from guilt. His intelligence couldn't shield him from consequence. In the end, he survives. But survival isn't peace. That's the unspoken truth of Prison Break. Freedom doesn't undo damage. It just gives you space to live with it. The series closes not on triumph, but on reflection. What was gained? What was lost? And what was the cost of refusing to let the system decide who deserved to live? Michael's final message answers that question. He doesn't speak about injustice or revenge. He speaks about choice, about deciding who you are, even when everything is taken from you, about loving someone enough to disappear so they can move forward. That's what transforms Prison Break from a thriller into something lasting. It isn't about tunnels, tattoos, or tactics. It's about sacrifice in a world that rarely rewards it. And that's why the story still resonates. Because everyone understands the fear of being trapped, whether by institutions, mistakes, or circumstances beyond control. And everyone understands the hope that someone, somewhere, is willing to risk everything to help you escape. In the end, Michael Scofield doesn't walk into freedom. He creates it for others. And that is why his story doesn't end with death. It endures. If this breakdown made you relive the tension, the sacrifice, and the brilliance that defined Prison Break, then let your support keep stories like this alive. Like this video if you appreciate deep, cinematic storytelling. Share it with someone who still remembers the first escape. Subscribe for more long-form breakdowns that go beyond scenes and into meaning. Because some stories don't end when the screen fades to black. They stay with you.